Hey guys, Andrew Shrout. I'm here in the sideboard with Kent Ketter. How's it going, man?
Good, good.
Kent has brought a black-red aggro deck to play in Standard today. Tell me a little about this deck, and tell me how you arrived at this deck.
So, start with it. It's your normal aggro deck. We start with Cackler into, this is where it gets a little crazy, Spike Jester, Thrill-Kill Assassin. Then at the 3-drop slot, we start hitting Chandra's Phoenix and 2 Herald the Torment. We'll get back to Herald a little bit later.
Okay.
Then we have Exava, the Blood Witch. So with Thrill Kill and Cackler, you obviously get the haste. We top the curve with Stormbreath Dragon and also Herald in a sense.
Sure.
The reason it's actually important that I specifically pointed out all the creatures was I currently have 9 flyers, if you count the Heralds of Torment. And I also have 11 forms of haste in the deck.
Okay.
And really the reason we were sitting down at Grand Prix Cincinnati, and Chris Smith from up in Chicago was playing the deck. He said he was doing real well with it. We took a look at his list and we just realized, hey, you know, this is like the red-black deck from last season. You know, all we want to do is play a 1-drop and do a 2-drop, continue on until, you know, hopefully our opponent's dead.
Okay. You're talking about the decks that topped out with things like Hellrider.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, in this format, no Hellrider, so we had to take my personal favorite, the Stormbreath Dragon, put it in there with Exava.
So you're basically trying to take what the black-red aggro deck, which is kind of an extent of the mono-black aggro deck that already exists, and kind of trying to build it more like a burn deck by replacing some of the creatures with haste creatures to kind of simulate extra burn.
Yep. Spike Jester was a big part of that. Pretty much every matchup except the ones where they cast Frostburn Weird, you're in pretty good shape. Sylvan Caryatid can't block it. Most of the Esper decks just can't deal with Spike Jester in general. It's just too aggressive for them. And yeah, it really all the haste and evasion really ties into taking advantage of our burn spells here.
Sure. Yeah. In addition to your creatures, you have 12 support spells. You have the 4 Dreadbores. That seems like a lot of Dreadbore, but I trust your judgment.
Yep.
And then 8 burn spells. You have 4 Lightning Strikes and the full 4 Magma Jet.
Yep. And it seems like a lot of spells. The Dreadbore specifically is leaning towards the monsters matchup. It's not dead in a single matchup in the format. Even against Esper, you know, if they have to play the early Jace on, +1, you basically get a pseudo time walk out of it. Or if they have to Elspeth early, I mean, Dreadbore is great there. In monsters, it's very, very good. And then when you get to the burn spells, this is where it gets a little interesting. Lightning Strike is currently the best burn spell available, in the format. Magma Jet is the card that I'm actually most in love with in this deck.
All right.
So I went over earlier how the curve is very important. Going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives you your best opportunity to win games. Magma Jet lets you on those off turns where maybe you're short a drop. Hopefully kill one of their creatures, but worst case into turn or in your upkeep, Magma Jet them and set your next 2 draws. And this deck has a high enough power level with all of the hasters and flyers that ensuring or just increasing the quality of the next 2 draws many times is enough. And a lot of your opponents don't really they don't realize how important that Magma Jet is. So many times you get to sneak in a spell that they might want to counter, but they think it's unimportant when it's actually the best spell in the deck.
Like just Scry 2 is so important for making sure that again, this is an aggro deck. It has 24 land, but it has 5 drops.
Yep.
Actual 5 drops that are all very powerful.
Yes.
And really the most important thing is getting the land drops to play those 5 drops and actually finding them.
Yep.
So in addition to the 4 Magma Jets with Scry 2, you're actually playing 6 Scry lands.
Yes, so the four Temple of Malice, red-black, gotta play my colors. We originally was on Rakdos Guildgate, and we realized that the mana we felt it was actually good enough that we could push the limit a little bit. And I love Scry lands. I think they're just the best thing to play with in Standard right now. So by increasing just with those 2 additional Scry lands, the hit to the mana is not really noticeable, but the ability to smooth out your future draws is very good. This is a deck that wants to hit 5 and then just begin to keep all the lands away. And if you hit 5 lands on turn 5, you're probably going to win the game.
You've got a powerful play.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Kind of tempo, game-changing play.
Yeah. It really creates a situation where if you're able to hit all those lands, you just feel so far ahead. Also, by us being only on Rakdos Cackler for a 1-drop. I'm a huge supporter of letting Skylands fill that 1-drop slot. While it's not putting a threat on the board, increasing the quality of your draws is just.
Sure.
I think it's
It's like if you don't have a 3-drop in hand, but you have another 2-drop,
Yep.
2-drop and Temple kind of functions
Absolutely.
as a 3-drop.
It makes sure you're doing something every single turn, and I would be happy to, you know, spend a mana to be able to scry. Sure. I mean, that's basically what you're doing with scry lands.
It's kind of the central tenet of this deck, actually. Just make sure you use your mana every turn.
Single turn. If you're passing with mana untapped, I hope you have Lightning Stride or Magma Jet. If you don't, you probably mess something up.
Okay. So what were you expecting to be with this deck? What are you hoping to face?
Esper. Yeah, I want my opponent to go Temple of Triumph. No, I'm sorry. The blue-white Temple.
Enlightenment.
Temple of Enlightenment, and pass the turn. I'm also very happy against both Black-White and Mono-Black Devotion. Their deck is just a little too inefficient compared to this. If they're casting a 3-mana Hero's Downfall on your Spike Jester, you're already ahead on mana, and they have to repeat that process time and time again. You have 12 removal spells for Pack Rat, so that's not really a threat.
Okay.
It was really just the hope was to play against the popular control decks of the format.
And really slow kind of...
Yeah, just punish them for, you know, if they miss land drops, the game is over almost on the spot. But even if they hit their land drops, Esper is just, that is the matchup I want to play. Chris in Cincinnati got into the draw bracket early, and I believe he went 6-0 against Esper. It's hard to argue with those results.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you're hoping to face Sphinx's Revelation. You're hoping to face like Underworld Connections, Pack Rat, things like that. What are you hoping to avoid? What's your worst matchup?
Frostburn Weird.
Okay.
Mono Blue Devotion is one of the more difficult decks to deal with.
Okay.
They're able to play creatures as efficient as you are, and then they have Thassa.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to keep up. Beyond that, Burning Tree Emissary decks, if they're playing spells for free, because it's all tying into the mana efficiency, we're trying to be more efficient than our opponent. Burning Tree Emissary shatters that parity and basically says, I'm going to play 2 spells when you play 1. So those 2 cards, Frostburn Weird and Burning Tree Emissary, are not ones I want to line up against.
Okay. And Burning Tree Emissary, that was your one loss so far in Standard, correct?
Yes, my one loss was to Tom Ross with his Burning Trees for days.
Okay. So, and then you won your other 2 matches. What did you play against in Standard?
First round of Standard, I played against the Naya, like the 12 Scryland Naya deck with I'm pretty sure it was the Brave the Element style. Okay. And then the round after that, I played against Black-White Control, a matchup I want to see, and pretty much just executed. I even mulled the 4-game 2, and I mulled the 4-game 2, and he was still had to hit a card on 1 draw step, and he did. So I'm okay with that power level.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So you are X2 then, going into the last round of day 1. Still very much live to take home a trophy and make your own token. I'll be rooting for you. Thanks for sitting down, Kent. Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage of the Invitational here in Charlotte.